Some begin with insignificant arguments and family drama, but the deeper we go, the more we uncover stories that twist into horrifying confessions of manipulation, cruelty, and secrets that should never have been shared. Consider this your warning. Let's begin at the tip of the iceberg. Level 1. A cold place to rest. We had a beloved cat who had simply grown too old and had to be euthanized at the veterinary clinic. We have a pet cemetery in our backyard where we've buried our previous pets, and we wanted to bury our cat there as well. He died during the winter, and the ground was completely frozen. It was impossible to dig a hole with a shovel. Our solution was to place the cat in the freezer for a few months until the ground thawed enough in the spring for us to bury him. The veterinarian placed him inside 2 bags, put those inside a cardboard coffin, and that's how he ended up in our freezer. Weeks later, that decision came back to haunt the narrator and her husband. Not because of illness, but because of something far more disturbing. It turned an ordinary evening into a moment that nobody around the dinner table would ever forget. We had guests over for dinner, and after we finished eating, we were all gathered around the kitchen island when someone suggested having ice cream for dessert. I opened the freezer to take out the ice cream when one of our friends noticed the cardboard coffin sitting on one of the shelves with our pet's name written on it in permanent marker. People immediately started asking questions, and I admitted that our cat was in the freezer waiting to be buried. I explained that the ground was still frozen and that we simply couldn't bury him yet. One of our friends, who was still eating at the time, immediately dropped his fork and looked like he was about to throw up. A debate quickly broke out. My wife and I honestly couldn't understand what the problem was. The cat was double-bagged, so there was no way it could contaminate the food. You couldn't even see the body, only the cardboard box. I argued that it wasn't really any different from keeping meat or other animal parts inside a freezer. Macabre? Yes. Unsanitary? Definitely not. My wife and I understood that not everyone would share our point of view, so we apologized to our guests. We hoped everyone could move on and enjoy the rest of the evening, but one guest couldn't. His appetite was completely ruined. He was visibly distressed and couldn't believe he had just eaten food that had been stored in the same freezer as a dead cat. We tried to reassure him. The cat had never touched any food. It was completely sealed inside plastic. Then he started saying, our kitchen wasn't clean. That was when I finally lost my temper. I became angry. He was calling our house dirty and making a scene in front of everyone, claiming our home was contaminated and unsafe to eat in. I told him that if he didn't want to eat here, he didn't have to. I also reminded everyone that we follow proper hygiene practices, especially when we have guests over. We felt insulted. Level 2. Netflix webcam hack. While Blake's hacker wanted attention, Chelsea's wanted proof. Like many couples, Chelsea Clark and her boyfriend were curled up in bed, enjoying a quiet night watching Netflix, completely unaware. They weren't alone in the room. It wasn't until the following morning, when Chelsea logged into Facebook, that she realized someone else had been watching. An account named McDado had sent her a message that simply read, "Cute couple." Attached were photos. Photos of Chelsea and her boyfriend lying together in bed the night before. Terrified, Chelsea opened the sender's profile. Its profile picture was Heath Ledger's Joker, and it belonged to a Facebook group called Spammers and Hackers. But that wasn't the worst part. Chelsea had configured her Facebook privacy settings so that only her friends could send her messages. When she checked her account activity, she discovered that the hacker had added himself to her friends list just moments before sending the photos. His listed location was Cairo, Egypt, suggesting that at some point he had likely tricked her into interacting with something, perhaps opening a document or clicking a malicious link. Chelsea couldn't remember ever doing anything like that. She reported the incident to authorities in Toronto. The response was devastatingly disappointing. They told her they didn't have the resources to identify the hacker. Their advice was simple: block the account and hope it never contacted her again. Unsatisfied, Chelsea reached out to Facebook. The company's response shocked her even more. According to Facebook, the account had not violated any of its policies. The hacker was never identified. A stranger hijacks a baby monitor and speaks through it. While Joe and John were working in their home office downstairs, their daughter called out to them. Neither of them was prepared for what was about to happen. When Joe reached his daughter, Jaden, she calmly told him, "A voice is talking to me." Not understanding what she meant, Joe asked who was talking and where the voice was coming from. To his surprise, Jaden pointed at the small white camera in her bedroom. As Joe watched, the camera lens slowly moved, following his movements. That was all the confirmation he needed. Someone else was controlling the camera from outside their home. Then Jaden added something even more disturbing. "The man told me, Jaden, I love you." Terrified, she moved closer to the camera. That's when they noticed something impossible. The camera had somehow been moved from her baby brother's bassinet into Jaden's bedroom, even though no one in the house had touched it. Convinced something was terribly wrong, they unplugged the camera immediately. The voice stopped, but the nightmare wasn't over. The hackers still had access to their network. The camera had been a baby shower gift for their youngest child about 6 months earlier. Since then, they had occasionally noticed strange reboots and suspicious movements. Weeks before, John's mother had even heard an odd voice coming from the device. At the time, she didn't think much of it. A Ring camera is hacked inside an 8-year-old girl's bedroom. One night, 8-year-old Alyssa was alone in her bedroom. Her mother was away from home. The only thing watching over her was the Ring security camera installed in the room. At first, she heard eerie music, the kind that sounded like it belonged in a horror movie. She looked around the room, trying to figure out where it was coming from. She couldn't find the source, and she couldn't make it stop. Then a voice suddenly filled the room. Startled, Alyssa asked, "Who's there?" The stranger answered. For a brief moment, she froze in fear. Her hesitation only encouraged the hacker. He kept talking, testing how much control he had over her attention. Meanwhile, her mother had already received a notification from the Ring app. She watched the live video and immediately rushed home, terrified. Alyssa screamed for her mother. She arrived just before the stranger and when the family contacted Ring, the company stated that the hacker had not gained access. Instead, they said that a vulnerability that as many of the cases in this iceberg. And that was only the beginning of the Reddit iceberg. What started with uncomfortable family disputes quickly descended into stories of hacked homes, strangers watching through cameras, and moments that turned ordinary lives into nightmares. The deeper you go into Reddit, the harder it becomes to tell where bad decisions end and true horror begins. So, here's the question. Which story disturbed you the most? Was it the frozen cat, the hacker secretly watching through a webcam, or the stranger speaking directly to a little girl through her bedroom camera? Let me know your answer in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore even darker corners of the internet, Reddit, and real unsolved mysteries, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because this iceberg goes much deeper. And trust me, the next level is far more disturbing. Until next time, stay curious and never stop questioning what hides beneath the surface.